Hello, my friends. Today we're going to be talking to Jack.
Hey, my name's Jack. I'm the founder of the Content Club. I've been on a wild journey over the last 10 years, building 2 different production agencies, realizing it's not for me, and then shifting gears into building a community business. In this podcast, I'm going to give you the lowdown of how it all works so that you don't make the same mistakes that I did as well.
Firstly, Jack, thank you for coming on. Thank you for the time. And I mean, you are very dominant on LinkedIn right now. You're doing a lot, etc. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to reach out and see if we could connect. But for those, I mean, you briefly summarized it, but you come from a world where I think it was, I think we actually, to be fair, we both do, from, early, I would say 2012 up through like 2018, etc., where it was like, it's cool to have a social media agency, right? That was the thriving thing. And then for multitude of reasons, economy, contraction, so on, news cycle, there's been a level of, I think, concern, or I think COVID specifically kind of rewired us to be in a position where we were like, actually, why am I just chasing this carrot, right? And this wasn't actually the order I was going to start with, but I think it's really important. I think I want to start there. Why is it like? Because if you ask some people, it'd be like, you've got issues with self-esteem, you've got like were your parents loving you, etc. Like, you can go really deep in the psychology of it, but like, from your perspective, from your own, I guess in some ways your own story, why did you go from feel free to correct these numbers if I quote them wrong, but like a 70,000 plus month business with five team, big office, that kind of thing, to now kind of what some people describe as a solo entrepreneur, helping small business owners really create what I call meaningful content rather than vanity metric content, which is, I think, the really important bit, especially when we've got AI, we've got people, with AI, what Google's doing with its prompt stuff and its video image to speak and stuff. I think that's going to be where the future is. But just to reiterate the question, I mean, what was the shift with you personally, and like, why did you move? Because I think some people look at it and go, well, surely that was the life, right? 75k a month is more than some people make in a year.
Yeah, it's I think for me it was just overworked, underpaid, stressed, overwhelmed with the whole thing. Loved it to pieces, right? And we got to 10 full time by the time that I decided to kind of kill the baby that I'd made, which sounds grim. But I think for me it was more just about what is the point? What is the purpose of what I'm trying to do? Is it just to get that next paycheck and work with bigger brands and work with more expensive projects and kind of, from an optics standpoint, look great? Or is it that I value time with my family, that I like being home, that I want to go out on more hikes and just experience things a bit more? Like, where does the value from my life come from? I think I kind of just had this epiphany moment. COVID was tough, and then we smashed it actually during COVID. Smashed it the 2 years after. We grew really, really, really quickly. But I just didn't like it. That was literally it. So there's no there's no like ulterior motive. It was just I didn't enjoy it. I've been doing it for 7 years. I felt this niggle to do something else and to actually help people, as opposed to sort of just put a plaster on the problem, because that's kind of how I feel agencies work to a degree. You'll get hired by big brands. We work with over 400 blue chip companies, which was crazy. Over 400 brands in total, but lots of those were blue chip companies. Sorry, just to quote. And we looked amazing. Like, we did stuff with Xbox, we did stuff with Microsoft, we did stuff with Huel and all the big D2C brands and whatnot. But they can kind of cut you off like that. And for us, it was just like, you weren't solving the problem. You're making content that got them more money, but then they just wanted to grow more. So they maybe research other agencies and try and get bigger teams. It was just always a scale of like, where's the end of this ladder? You just keep climbing. It felt the same for us. We were growing, doing stupid money, working with cool brands, but for what? What's the point? What's the purpose? And that's kind of where I kind of just thought, maybe it's not right for me.
Yeah, and I think that's I guess in some ways that a lot of business owners are having that epiphany at the moment, right? And I think that, it reminds me of some value work I did many years ago with an ex-NLP coach that I used to do some work for. And, for me, it's always, I've been thinking, about, I've got into wildlife filming last couple of years, etc., etc. And I'm like, that's fun, but actually in some ways I don't want it to do too well, right? And that sounds counterintuitive, right? Because you're like, wait, so you're doing something so you don't want it to do well. But what I don't want to end up doing is like being away from family and my loved ones, right? A lot of the time, which a lot of wildlife film will end up being. But it's a good example of like, are you doing stuff that's in line with what you want for yourself, right? Because there's been loads of studies that show, I think it's around 70,000 a year personally. Any income after that is basically it's not really a thing. Like, it doesn't really matter because you have all of your like needs met, right? And you have enough want money and investment money where actually you're going to be absolutely fine, right? And I think it's one of those things where people look about chasing the Joneses so much, and I'm seeing a lot of content, ironically, coming up with this like anti chasing the Jones stuff, which is like, actually you should be looking to potentially downscale because then you can make less but actually love what you do and actually be more fulfilled and actually, move those other markers, or like build a stronger brand and have to do less work so you can work on the business more, etc. But I mean, just quickly wind the clock back. I mean, how did you get to the point of even running the agency, right? Because I think so much of us, especially people who are looking to build agencies or still in this world, we potentially look at it as okay, I'm going to put out content and it's miraculously going to happen.
I started the agency in 2018. I was 21. I just finished working with my dad as his video person for his recruitment business at the time, and loved it, but we just didn't click commercially. So we split off and set my own business up. And I kind of just used it as a way to earn money, really, mate. That was really it. I liked making videos, and I thought I was all right at it. And people pay me money to do it for them. That's literally it. It was not sexy. It's no business plan. It was just, I like making videos. I want to earn money. That's literally it. So I contacted all the local pubs in my area and bars and restaurants and cafes and say, hey, I'll come and make your videos for you for social media. And I got one client, which was a pub who I think I quoted 200 quid for, and never paid me for it after I did the job. All cash in. I was dodgy, all cash in hand and everything. But I think after that, it was kind of like, right, I quite learning what I didn't do well there. So let's maybe try and learn to make a better contract or to do this and then put a contract in place, etc. You just learn all these little things. Then I started working with agencies and then kind of partnering for their clients and all the rest of it. And then we grew it to 10. We rebranded. We then kind of predominantly worked within the D2C space. But, it's almost a decade of mistakes, trial and error, practice makes perfect, that sort of stuff, right? It took us a long time to get there. And of course, we still had our challenges. I think when you go, the gap is from 7 to 13 people is the hardest point in the business, because you've got the original team, the OGs, who are really tight knit and everyone clicks. And then suddenly, when you start to grow past 7, you start to need process and structure and systems. And for me, that wasn't fun at all. And I didn't want to hire a manager because I couldn't be bothered. And the business kind of just felt a little bit weird. I sort of lost my baby. I lost my interest in it. I think the stress of managing a team and worrying about people's birthdays and that this person said this person was this, and it's all just putting out fires all the time. And I was just not on shoots as much as I wanted to. But then it's also, those shoots got bigger. It went from me and a solo guy filming on 2 cameras and maybe taking photos as a nice thing, to suddenly 7 of us on set, having a gaffer, having a lighting specialist, having an audio guy, having a producer, a director, a first camera, a second camera. And it's kind of like, gee, like this is kind of like, it's crazy because we've smashed it and we've done really well, but I'm just not involved in the nitty grittiness of it. And that's what I loved doing. And then it kind of just sort of realized that, it's just project after project after project. And we had tons of retainers, which is nice, but it was just like doing the same thing over and over again. And that was
I think I think that leans into kind of what we're discussing at the top of the show. I think it's that thing of what is your the reality for everyone for probably about 40 to 50, maybe 60 years, depending on how you invest and right. Like, your reality is going to be you're going to be working a shit ton of time, right? That's just the facts of life. The question then becomes, do you actually enjoy it, right? And there's this big conversation in corporate at the moment around, actually, like, I work really hard because it's for me. I wouldn't work this hard for X large corporation, regardless of how much my paycheck was, right? And the concept of quiet quitting, etc., and putting minimum effort in. And I think that's why, to an extent, and this leads on quite nicely to my next question, which is going to be around, like, do it for yourself videos or like DIY videos, and like seeing authenticity as a concept, because a lot of it on YouTube, on content, on LinkedIn, etc., right? Well, there's this, in some ways, there's this 2 strand people are kind of going into, right? Which is people are ignoring AI, people are saying no to AI, and then there's the people who are then embracing AI, right? Now, to be honest, I bounce between the two, right? Because I can see both sides of that argument. But why do you think personally that like do-it-yourself videos is better and potentially the future in a world where, you know, the reality is AI is going to be around now. The genie's out of that bottle in that respect. But why is doing content yourself, filming content yourself, learning how to produce it yourself, that learning process to then output it, the future, when some would argue actually it's learning AI to then get it to learn how to speak for you, getting it to then claim your voice, so on, you know, in that respect.